Welcome to Scry-fi. We're doing episode 2 of the Acolyte, Star Wars, and it's called Revenge / Justice. I guess all of them are going to have a title like this.
Oh,
the last one was Lost / Found.
If they're doing a yin yang thing with the two sisters, then maybe that's what that's about. Doing that.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I think maybe we have to figure out which one is which on each one. Like, who would you say was lost and the other one was found?
Because you could say that the evil acolyte was found by the master, evil master, and that she was lost because she went off from the Jedi Order,
right?
Or vice versa.
Yeah, she was found by the Jedi, but really the lost one. Yeah, and it works both ways, which is pretty cool. Yeah. This one, Revenge / Justice. Almost you could do the same thing, because at the end of it, and we'll get to that, but at the end of it,
revenge and who's trying to get
she was like, Osho was saying, she killed my family. Like, I didn't know you were so angry. Like, suddenly there's that reverse to where she could go dark in a way, you know. But yeah,
I'm still not totally convinced that what is the sister that killed the Jedi?
May.
I'm still not totally convinced that May is a pure dark side user, because the opening thing said someone else is learning to use the Force or elsewhere. They didn't say the dark side. And then obviously she's doing stuff that Jedi wouldn't do, and she's trying to kill somebody. Maybe she thinks that's justice, whatever. But I don't see her, like, not that all dark side users do, but even if she continued and got more intense or whatever, we don't necessarily know that her eyes would go yellow, and that it could just be that there's a sprinkling of dark side stuff in there, but she hasn't like fallen to the dark side per se.
Yeah, I think she's been kind of indoctrinated religiously into the dark side in a way, but she hasn't committed herself.
It could be that the practices that she's learned have a mixture of things, and she's kind of indeterminate. Kind of like, I mean, you would think that Ventress was pure dark side at one point, but she eventually turned around and
sort of.
Yeah, it didn't really become a hero.
Turned more neutral than good, I would say, but yeah. Well, let's look at it right now. It starts off on Alega, which is a cool little place that we get to see a small Jedi temple. Always like seeing
the place that I thought looked like Octo before.
No, I think this is a different. This is a different place.
It has a city. Name, and it was not Octo, but it was.
This is where the whole episode happens, basically, on this one city. And there's May's ship again. Again, it kind of looks like the Sith infiltrator in a way. I like that look. Not all sleek and black and, totally evil yet or whatever, but it's still pretty cool. And then we start right off at the front of this Jedi temple. I love the little droid here that pops out.
So this is obviously the job, this is a take on the thing that was at Jabba the Hutt's palace.
Right.
And that we also see in that Mandalorian episode protecting the room that had Herzog in it. So I guess that's the Star Wars.
It's like the doorman.
What?
It's like the doorman, right?
Yeah. It's like the Star Wars equivalent of the little ring bell things that people have now with the only it's got a little AI in it.
Yeah. It probably isn't on every single door, but
Yeah, it's like you can get one, and some people have,
like a Ring camera is today.
Yeah, but what she does with it here is what's interesting. Throws that little thing.
It is and it isn't. So I don't understand why this kid was involved at all. If all you have to do is hit on it and then the droid head comes up, all you have to do is put the
what if it's got a facial recognition thing and they would immediately know, hey, we know who this is? Now there's a record of who that was.
Yeah, and she was trying to do it stealthily.
Whereas if you get it to open up and make itself vulnerable, then you do that, and then you hack it or slice it. Now that it doesn't have a record of your face.
This kid was fun though. I like this character. It makes me think, like, if I was doing a role-playing game and I had this as a little street kid character, I like how quickly she gives up all the information just to get out of trouble later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No loyalties, nothing like that. So yeah, she slices, hacks into the thing and makes it open the door. It makes me think, like, I don't know, if it's that easy, like, she didn't even have to do a skill. She just threw a thing at it, right?
Well, we don't know what skill she used to program that thing.
Like, she programmed it ahead of time. Okay.
Like in Mandalorian, they had one of those rods, the S-comp rods, when they got onto the prison ship, and they just plugged it in there. Well, somebody advanced had to
That's true.
prepare that thing, specifically for that lock.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, that a little bit of this was a little like, can you really just walk around inside a Jedi temple and nobody?
At the very least, you'd think that they would censor. But we talked last time about, like, dark side has been known before to have ways of cloaking their presence so you don't sense them. But even so, I mean, now she did pass by one person, but
I was going to show this. I was going to show that it might not be a Jedi, but I don't need to be a Jedi to tell that you're trying to hide who you are. When you have a mask over your here, a hood up, and you do this, look at what she does whenever somebody passes. When you turn your head like this as you walk, that's not natural.
I don't know. Think of all the weird-looking people in the Star Wars universe, though, whose faces have all kinds of junk on.
I guess the only thing I could think of is it looks like the person that passes her is looking down at something, like she's playing on her phone or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean,
they probably have locals coming in and out of here all the time doing stuff.
Right. They don't all have to be Jedis. They might be people visiting people. Yeah, merchants, whatever.
Reporting something.
It's hard to tell how big this temple is, right?
I didn't get the impression it was huge.
No, but it was big enough for her to take another route later on, for OSHA to take another route later on and get there before they got there. Yeah.
It's probably, I don't know, about the size of a city block or something.
So, all right. So then we got this guy, Torben, Master Torben.
Yeah.
He's played by Dean Charles Chapman, who is a really young-looking guy, and so they've old makeuped him up a bit here.
I guess that's what they're doing, because they're probably going to give us a big-time flashback.
Yeah,
but the beard looks kind of fake to me.
Everything looks a little too fake. Yeah.
Some people, though, do have very curly beards that are way curlier than their normal hair. So whatever. Maybe they also receded his hairline. That'll be interesting to watch later if we get a flashback with this.
They definitely receded his hairline. Like, this guy looks like young, like early 20s from what I can see.
Too young to have that hairline.
Yeah. But okay. So here's the question. He hasn't spoken to anybody for 10 years. I assume this is like a Jedi vow of silence in a way.
Yeah, they said 10 years ago he decided to do this. Maybe it's some sort of purification.
Yeah, they mention what it is. I didn't catch the name, but they say he's in this state.
Right.
Like,
it has a name. Yeah. They give the name. It's 2 words. I forget. Our people in the comments can tell us.
Right.
But whatever that thing is, it's probably some sort of like... what's the word I'm looking for? Where you
some kind of meditative state,
make amends for your
atonement.
It's probably some sort of atonement thing.
Yeah, I think she even mentions, like, you think this is atonement.
Maybe he's reconfiguring his character and his soul and his thinking to be pure or in line.
Now, he is a Jedi, but I assume even in 10 years you have to come out of this to eat or something, right? Even if he doesn't, his hair must grow. So either...
I think he's looked like that for 10 years. I think it's like a stasis.
Well, if he's looked like this for 10 years and they do a flashback, then he should look like this, not...
Oh, you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that means that he does age in those 10 years. You can't just go into the state for like 200 years and come out and be fine, right?
Well, maybe that name that they give isn't this per se, but this is a big periods of this is a part of that.
Okay, so he like sleeps, he wakes up, he eats breakfast, he goes in there, does this all
maybe
day
he still
long.
has a vow of silence during it,
Right.
doesn't interact with other people, does his thing, then goes back in again. And that
makes
whole activity is called by that name.
Right. That would make sense, right?
Yeah. That'd make a lot
just living in seclusion.
If we had to guess.
Well, okay, here's one of the things with Jedi, right? I don't understand why no one's asked him why he's doing this and given him the proper PTSD treatment or whatever it is that he needs. Clearly,
this is probably better than any PTSD treatment.
Well, clearly not because of what happens later on, but like 10 years isn't enough, right?
You mean he comes out and then does the suicide?
It seems like someone should come up to him, some, master or something, and be like, hey, clearly you're troubled. Let's talk. Let's work this out. Figure it out. What's going on? If the answer was to sit there and hover for 10 years.
If it's considered a private thing, though, and they give them their space, I could see things.
I guess, but think of, I know the Jedi don't look at it this way, but think of the investment they put in this guy.
There's lots of orders and things where, like, say, for example, someone doesn't take communion. People don't go digging. Why aren't you taking communion? They just say, oh, they're dealing with something.
No, but if you put 20 years worth of training and feeding and all this stuff into a Jedi, and then they go, hey, for 10 years, I'm just going to eat your food and sit in a room all day. Someone's got to be like, hey, somebody ought to go check on Turbin.
Maybe somebody
what's going on with Turbin
did give clearance for this and knows what's going on, but they're back at the Temple on Coruscant. And these guys here locally don't know.
I know. It just seems like if this is the answer to whatever happened, then what you got going on isn't good enough. And that's not how it's felt with the Jedi philosophies, right?
I like to see, if they're going to show the High Republic, I want to see Jedi who are being Jedi successfully.
Yes.
Obviously, if they were Jedi for 25 generations, 25,000 years, then their stuff works. That means you can go through life and bad stuff happens to you and you're not destroyed. You're perfectly fine because of your Jedi training. That's what I want to see.
There is something
to the point where we go, man, how could a human do that?
Yeah. There is something I think could not forgive, but explain this kind of issue for me is, what if 10 years ago he turned to the dark side and this is their way of readjusting everything?
Yeah, if you made a mistake back then that caused the scar
or went insane or something like that. If it was mental trauma enough for something like this, that would be
yeah.
But right now, it just kind of feels like a cool little story thing that they threw in there. That doesn't.
Maybe we'll find out that what's the green lady?
Oh, Veronesta.
Maybe we'll find out she knows something more than she's revealed so far.
Well, I'm sure she has, as a master. She has all this information and stuff.
No, I mean about this stuff specifically.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting.
I got more to say on that whole matter once we learn more about the plot.
Right. Now, I do like that this cool little bubble that's all around him. She keeps
that's cool.
Kicking at him and can't get to it. I assume it takes a great deal of concentration and prep time to get that bubble around you. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, Jedi
would do that in combat because a grenade is about to go off.
Right.
Stuff. Yeah.
Although that would be cool power. Mm. And even when this guy comes in, who didn't get a name, by the way, but he was kind of cool. He was just Master from Olega is what he's credited as on IMDb anyway. I'm sure he's in the credits, though.
Eventually, he'll get a name and a backstory. And
Oh, yeah. He'll have a whole book written about him. But even this guy, when he comes in, like, Torben doesn't stop and go, hey, somebody was just here. Like... So you don't know how much he knows about what's going on outside of that,
Well, we know he heard something because he heard what's her face.
Right, eventually. Man. There's the logo again. The two rings thing is a cool idea.
Yeah, cool.
So we go back to her. I have heard people. I saw a conversation with some friends where they were complaining, like, "Okay, these two have been apart from each other for 10 years. They think each other's dead. How do they have the same haircut?"
It's not exactly the same, is it?
It is. I've looked back and forth. I thought May had the longer hair, but I think it just looks that way because she has the hood. When she takes it off, it's pretty much the same haircut.
Oh, well, maybe it's the haircut we saw them as kids. What was their hair like?
And their hair's a little different as kids. It's more messy. But I thought the only thing that probably could explain it is if it's some kind of like cultural thing. You know, like, oh, this is just the way we wear our hair if we're from this town or something like
Could
that.
be.
Right?
Could be.
I mean, like Vulcans and Star Trek all have the same hair.
Or if they've always this whole time had a subconscious connection.
That's the other. That's the other idea
Could
floating
be
out there for a
influencing
while.
little decisions on things
Right.
and don't even know it. You know.
They could be feeding off of each other a little bit in little ways and not even realize it. Yeah. So she wakes up on a Jedi ship, and we have what's her name, Jecki. I think her name. Yeah, Jecki Lawn.
Oh, okay. I didn't know her name. Okay.
And I like her a lot. She's so fun. I
can't
like
say
her
why I
on
like her, but I do like her. I like her a lot, and maybe it's because she's being played and written in a reserved way, like not coming out. Everybody has to be some
right.
extreme character or something.
She makes me think of like she has this perfect balance of been brought up with this wise kind of philosophy and stuff like that, but the naivety of a young person who doesn't know quite how to apply it. Like, oh, right, these are the rules.
Wise for her level of.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's like, these are the rules and these are how we do things and stuff. But it doesn't feel like she's really dived deep into why all this is stuff. It's more like she's just kind of living the rule sets that she's been given, which is kind of what you would see in this level, I think. And I think it's just so well
interesting where you want to learn, you want to know more. So you pay
right.
a lot of attention to what she does.
Yeah. You could imagine later on when she has a lot more life experience that she knows why this rule now exists instead of just following the rule.
Like that kind of character shows up on screen and almost immediately starts going, because I grew up in a labor camp and they did this stuff to us, and they're telling you their whole backstory and everything, because the writer just can't wait to get that out to you because they think their character is so special. I just
this character's. I also looked up. So I looked up what her race was, and she's half human, half Theman, I think it was called. Thelan.
Okay, that's the one that I was saying in the last episode. Yeah. That dancing girl that was the purple with the horns. So she's Thelan. Okay.
The reason this is just my guess, but the reason why they went with half human is because Thelans have hooved feet.
Okay.
And that would be such an annoyance, as we saw in Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, to have to walk and all that and run and all that. So they were just like, let's give her human feet and say she's half human.
Yeah, that's great.
But cool. And I also think, I'm not sure. I don't know if Thelans have hair, so maybe that's another part of it.
She did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
one that I was talking about I think that was the first Thelan we saw was in that Jabba the Hutt, which is the special edition version of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I think they're also in a video game somewhere as well.
Yeah, I don't know which came first, if that's the case then. Okay.
But yeah, I like this character already. I would love to see a progression, almost like an Ahsoka thing where you could.
In a way, it almost feels like she's a witness to all this. Like she's the proxy for the audience.
Yeah, I could see that.
But she's kind of on the sidelines, just watching and learning what's happening.
Well, later on, though, she kind of, I think it was fun because she came up with a better idea than Yord gives.
I like that too.
And I was like, oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I can tell that she would grow into a Jedi. I'd really like to.
Although I don't want to just poop on Yord the whole time, because I like Yord. I want to see him do something really cool.
I mean, he did do some cool stuff. We'll talk about that. But yeah. So yeah, she talks to her a little bit. This scene where she laughs a little bit because she talks about the droid. Like the droid gets upset that she's saying she's more flexible than droids, and she's like, "Oh, and he's also flexible." And then she laughs. I like seeing the little bit of joy and happiness come into the thing too. They're not always just no emotion. They're not Vulcans or anything,
sure.
right?
Yeah, I mean Yoda and Qui-Gon, they all
Always laughed and
exhibited.
Yeah.
Mace Windu did too. It's just that his was all grouchiness, but it was
True.
something.
That's true. Yeah. But I like it when they're doing their Jedi facade and stuff like that, but then it breaks a little bit, and it doesn't feel like they shouldn't break or anything.
And it feels like
it just
mindful break, like they are doing this with thought and intention.
Yeah, as a stoic would. Yeah.
But then something happens and they don't lose control because of a reaction to something. Yeah. Yeah. They're handling that well.
And there's Yord talking to Soul. Yord, I hope he does become more experienced in a way. Like,
it seems like maybe he was made knight early, maybe because he was an excellent Padawan and got promoted kind of early, and so he's like a youngish knight.
Yeah, I don't remember in the first episode at what time he said, like how long he'd been a knight. I thought he said like 3 years or something, but I don't think he's had a lot of experience.
No, and he's been at the temple a lot. You could tell before this.
Yeah, he still has this. See, this is the difference between him and Jecki, which is Jecki's naivety fits her because of her age and that she's a Padawan. But he's at a state where he shouldn't be this naive, and he's still got
he's
it. So
a little over his head.
Yeah, he's just like not in there, which is still cool to see. I'm not saying this is bad for the character at all. Yeah. It's interesting to see these different levels of Jedi.
And, if this character sticks around and evolves into other levels that has more of an arc, who knows what's going to happen. But that makes it all the more rewarding to see a character like that develop over time.
And also, we haven't talked about this before, but there's a theory about what color lightsaber Jedi end up with.
I was thinking about this just this morning. I was thinking about the Legends thing about Guardian, Consular,
and Sentinel.
Right?
Those are the three types of
that's
Jedi.
Blue, green, and Well, another way to look at it is they've mentioned in the Clone Wars this some more divisions in details about the Force are that there's a cosmic force and a living force.
Mm-hmm.
And the cosmic feeds into the living, creates the living, and then the living force feeds and creates the cosmic force. And they're both different aspects of the Force. And that balance in the Force kind of refers to these things, among other things. But I was wondering if the Jedi who opt more for the living Force tend toward the green and the cosmic Force toward the blue. And I was thinking about it and was like, Qui-Gon was always talking about the living Force.
Be mindful of the present, all that stuff,
Yeah. And Yoda messes with the animals and all that stuff. And also whereas Obi-Wan was always just kind of like, let's get our job done. Let's complete this mission. The people who opt for, or the Jedi who opt for the living Force or focus on the living Force, they seem to be ones that maybe they think a little bit more about matters of the heart and feeling and things like that. Whereas the ones that focus on the cosmic Force seem to be more about, like Obi-Wan describing to Luke the Force, he said it's an energy field that surrounds us and binds the galaxy together. And when Yoda talked about the Force, he was talking about you just feel it between you and me. And I don't know. It seems like that might be tied to that character of green and blue. Yeah.
It's interesting because the way I've heard it described is So a guard, or what was it? Is a consular Jedi comes to the door. Consular have the green lightsabers. He comes to the door and someone answers it, and he talks his way through. And a guardian comes to the door and he breaks his way through. Guardians have the blue, and then a yellow lightsaber, a sentinel, or I think it's called, comes to the door and they hack their way through. And that's just a neat little way of getting like a feeling of personality. But I think what you're describing is probably like more interesting than that kind of thing.
Well, maybe it's the deeper philosophy behind that, what brings that about. But also, what's interesting about that too is that if you look at the way both Yoda and Obi-Wan were talking about Darth Vader, saying once you go to the dark path, forever dominate your destiny. There's no hope. You got to go confront him. That's all that can be done at this point. And Luke was the only one who saw, no, there's still good in him. I can reach his inner spirit, and get through to him. That feels more like a life force than a cosmic force approach. And what's cool about that is that Luke had a blue lightsaber and then went to a green lightsaber, which was like Qui-Gon's lightsaber.
Right.
It was almost like he went back
That's interesting.
to what Qui-Gon was wanting to promote and what Qui-Gon would have gone with at the whole approach to the whole thing if he hadn't died.
Ahsoka's lightsaber changes as well. He starts off with blue and ends up with green at the end, right? And then white. That's different.
Yeah, and then white. But that's she's not a Jedi. She's just out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can go on.
All of that's on the side.
Who knows whether they're going to think about that when they assign their lightsaber colors in this show. I don't think it's anything where it's so absolute that you can say, oh, they broke the rules, but it's just sort of a
none of that is canon. It's all stuff that's in the background. I've used it in role-playing games and stuff like that because it's a real easy way to create different personalities for Jedi when you talk to them.
It's fun to think of. But whenever you propose these, maybe it works this way, maybe it works. You always want to do it in this is a tendency, or this is a common thing, or a likely thing, but it's not an absolute thing, because that then gives you the flexibility to where if somebody has a green instead of a blue and they do something else, it doesn't automatically make the whole thing fall apart.
Like Soul here, I would guess he has a blue lightsaber. I haven't seen it. They haven't turned it on.
We haven't seen his lightsaber yet. Huh?
No. And we do know that Indara, who was on the last one, Carrie-Anne Moss, she had a green lightsaber. She kind of felt...
She had a green lightsaber?
Yeah. So that's consular, but she kind of felt like she should have had a yellow. I don't know if they're paying attention to it or not. In some cases, I think often they just think, what color looks good with this makeup and this...
Hey, Yoda had to have a green one because he's green.
If he pulled out a blue one, we'd be like, what? Yeah. So anyway, that's all a huge aside.
What purple means,
Well, purple's special, yeah. There's some stuff on there, some lore about Mace Windu.
I don't buy the thing about a little bit of dark side means you're purple.
It wasn't that he had a little bit of dark side. It was that he trained to fight the dark side.
Oh, interesting.
Focused on that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, I can believe that.
But yeah. Anyway, back to the entire thing. That's all Star Wars lore that's not even a tag.
Right there.
Yeah. Okay. Bonus material. So here he's talking to Vernestra. They're doing the hologram thing where people look really good in the holograms. And it made me think, like, when you see episode 1 holograms, they're not even as good as this. Like you can even see like lines go down on them and stuff like that. So I'm wondering, is this just because he's got the High Republic ultimate best quality injection system?
I can totally buy that, especially like the Empire, for example, is going to go bare bones.
Cheap.
We're buying trillions and trillions of these for the whole galaxy.
Yeah.
So every penny we can shave off of, or 0.1 credits.
That's interesting.
0.01 credits. That we can shave off the cost. We're going to cut corners, just like TIE fighters don't have shields,
Right. Yeah.
So,
I just think it's interesting to see the different qualities and levels every time a hologram communication happens.
yeah.
Because at the end of the Clone Wars cartoon, you see like the Jedi Council are talking and stuff, or even in the episodes, and they're just all blue, no color added. But in this one, there's color added. It's interesting. Like, you don't know how you're showing up to someone else, probably.
Yeah. Different quality of devices.
Yeah.
And maybe also
side
different
thing.
quality of signal. Like if the signal is being degraded
Well, that's
by
true.
an asteroid field or something like that.
So this one, I thought she was going to fight him with it because he updates her and then he says to her like, should I bring Osha in or go investigate? And he clearly wants to
go to the place anyway.
Yeah, he clearly wants to go investigate. And she goes, no, go investigate and take Osha with you. Like, it was almost like, I know what you're going to do anyway. Just go do it. Kind of thing. And then, of course, he has to tell Fjord that the Jedi agree with him. So I guess they're kind of like, okay, she's innocent. They take off, and we're back to Olega.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we meet. I love this actor.
Look at that set design back there too.
What was that?
Previous screen.
Oh, the whole set.
I mean, inside. Right
Oh
there.
yeah. Oh yeah, I know. There's a lot of cool
Star
stuff
Wars
in there.
Yeah. And this is where we met who? What's his name?
His name is Quimmer.
Quimmer. Now, I think Quimmer is highly sus, and the reason is, I mean, obviously he's with the bad guys here, but that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, even within that, because I think there's stuff about him we don't know yet. First of all, in their conversation, he quotes the Sith code when he said, peace is a lie, right?
Peace is a lie.
And he says it to her, and she says, yeah, like she's heard it to her too. So they're both have received teachings from a Sith, which is probably
or at least Sith related teaching.
Yeah, but it's probably the black cloak figure at the end of episode 1 that they both have interacted with. And yet, after having heard and received those teachings, he's just supposed to come here and take the place of some apothecary shop person.
Well, he clearly killed the guy because he said he took the outfit he's putting on.
Right.
From
so he's obviously, evil and all that, but I think he's more than
I think he's like a handler.
He's like a what?
I think he's like a handler. Like
maybe,
he's the eyes and ears of the master.
He's himself, and he's hiding it to watch her.
In fact, I think he's the eyes and ears.
If that is the masked figure at the end of episode 1.
No, I don't.
And the reason I say that is because later, when the Jedi show up, well, we can get to it later because I'm not sure I remember the details of what I was thinking when, but
I love the actor. He was great in The Good Place.
Oh yeah,
and he still has that kind of cadence, but it's a little different because it's dark now instead of comedic.
Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah.
I
really
interesting
like
character for sure. Either way, yeah.
Quimmer. It's Qimir according to IMDb. So
Kimmer. It's probably Kimmer.
I think. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, and he just Molotov. Not Molotov. Like makes a little cocktail of poison immediately. Doesn't even really doesn't even really have to
He's
look.
A poisoner. Now, refresh my memory here, but Plagueis's master was a Bith, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And
Plagueis was the master of Sidious, the emperor.
Wasn't one of them somehow involved with poisons?
Maybe Plagueis wasn't. He was trying to. This is all again legend lore, but Plagueis was trying to extend life or make himself immortal, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a far-fetched idea to think that poison making is a normal thing to learn in
society. Oh, yeah. For sure.
But this is where they mention again that she has to kill one of these Jedi without a weapon. Like, that is a goal.
They make it a little more clear, right?
Yeah. It's interesting that she doesn't want to tell the Master that she used poison. I don't think she's going to say, I killed him without a weapon, like lie about it. But I don't know why.
Trying to work her way up to being able to do it with a little practice.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the poison could count as a weapon, but she did make him take it himself. So I think she's getting closer to it. I think she's getting closer to the. I think the Master was utilizing the fact that the word Jedi is both a singular and a plural. When he said, kill the Jedi without a weapon,
Right. Yeah. So now we're back on the Jedi ship. So it's weird. We talked last episode about how they don't seem to respect distances as far as how long it takes to get to places and stuff, because they just
they're editing,
cut to it.
So you don't.
Yeah, they cut to it. They just like, okay, they've been on here for a day and now they're there or something
The Empire Strikes Back probably took months.
Sure, but they're not doing a good job, and I don't think they ever have on any of these series, of making you know or feel how long these distances are. Because at this point, they're going to Olega. We know that they were heading to Coruscant, and then they had to turn back to Olega, right? So this, finally, on this episode, feels like they're traveling, and that's good. But it's so inconsistent. I just wish I wish somebody would break open the map, do the same kind of calculations that we do when we play role-playing games, and go, okay, well, we can't have them appear here because it takes 2 days to get here. So we need something happening.
Since they're talking about fictional planets, they could put them anywhere they wanted.
Right.
If they needed shorter time, they could do that, or a longer time, they could do that.
Right. Instead of fudging the distance that it should take, they should just fudge where the planet is. It doesn't matter, right?
But it works out.
If they want it to happen immediately, okay, put Olega next to Coruscant. No problem. But if they want it to take a while,
original Star Wars has always done that too. Look at the difference between Han Solo talking with Obi-Wan while they were traveling, Luke was training, and they're traveling. And after a few minutes, he goes, "Looks like we're coming up on Alderaan." And then compare that to like in Return of the Jedi, when they zap over to the Rebel fleet, zaps over to Endor. It seems almost instantaneous,
Right. Yeah. In Episode 4, they even cut to where Luke is training with the thing. It looks like time is gone by for a little while, right?
Now the Falcon didn't have a hyperdrive, but we're getting
sure, yeah. But the problem is that you and I know the map of the galaxy so well and travel times that we see this stuff immediately, and it might not matter that much to other people. But in this scene, I feel like this scene was created simply to point out the tattoo that she has. Yeah,
but why? I mean, she says, I got this as a mechanic thing, but she still doesn't say what it means, other than maybe all mechanics get that.
Well, when you're dealing with two twins, it's good to have something to be able to tell the other one apart, right?
Maybe later they're going to do something tricky, and if you've got a keen eye, you'll notice that tattoo on her arm.
Well, and May has the spiral tattoo.
That was real subtle. I didn't see that at all. You pointed that out.
Well, because it's hidden by the hair, right? Yeah. And she doesn't have it. And I've seen some off-episode stuff, like clips or images and stuff. And I think I know why it's there, but I don't want to say anything beyond what we've seen on the episodes now. So, just in case that's a spoiler, Okay. We didn't mention at the beginning of this that we'd be spoiling this episode, but yeah. But yeah, this little moment between her and Soul was interesting. I think this is where she said I was a bad student. He said maybe I was a bad teacher. That's always
So she
it
has
feels like a healing
a
moment,
little bit more since the time she left the order. We could tell.
right? It's been 6 years since she left the order, he said.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a pretty good moment. I like that moment. I like to see it felt like a little bit of a healing moment between them,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever happened. So now they're at Lega. It's daytime. This is what you get with the volume as far as a town goes, is you often get cul-de-sacs. We saw this kind of in Obi-Wan
I'm
as
not
well.
sure they're using the volume. I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm pretty sure they're using the volume, like all this back
I
here.
think they built these sets. I think I remember reading that they.
Oh, I think a lot of this is built, but I think it's built in the volume, like all that stuff back behind your.
I don't know. I seem to recall reading something about how Acolyte didn't use the volume. Maybe I'm misplacing. Maybe this is misplaced memory. Maybe it was something else. I know that's the case for Andor. Maybe I'm confusing it, but
Yeah.
But it's definitely, a set. Either way, I was going to say I haven't noticed a lot of like volume feel to most of the show, really.
I just noticed it in the overuse of the cul-de-sac of where the alchemist is. Basically, it just felt like they had a very small section of the city.
Yeah,
as opposed to
got little tiny narrow streets and all. It should
sure.
Oh, this scene right here. You notice how similar all their robes look, and they don't look exactly like the robes that are even not the white robes.
Right.
So what's interesting about this is like when you look at like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's outfit at the beginning of episode 1, well, in episode 1, those look very similar. So I think it's very common for a master and apprentice to kind of wear matching.
Well, look at what the master from Olega is wearing. His robe is actually like fuzzy, like not fuzzy, but it's like a thicker, yarny material.
Mm-hmm.
And he's wearing brown instead of gold.
That other guy from
you can see the material right there. See how it's like thick and
Yeah.
fuzzy?
Yeah.
Like a knapsack kind of thing.
What if it's colder here? I don't know.
Maybe. It's interesting. I thought it was interesting that when they showed up to the front of the temple, he came out to greet them, but it almost felt like you can't come past until you tell me why you're here kind of thing. And then he guided them in. You know what I mean?
He had been there when What's-Her-Face showed up.
Yeah.
Today.
Well, it was just like, it was a little weird. It didn't feel like, oh, they could just land at any temple and just walk right in. And it was almost like,
it's a jurisdiction thing. You got to respect people.
It almost felt that way. Yeah.
That temple. Yeah.
I did like how it's kind of getting past here, but she talks to, I think it's further down. Yeah, here it is. She's talking to the kid, Jackie again.
Yeah.
And she talks to the kid in a way of authority, but she gets down to the same level, all that stuff. And the kid immediately goes, it was her, but she was wearing a hood. Like, there's no loyalty, nothing, all that stuff. Yeah, and see, this Jedi's wearing something different too. This Padawan. He's a Padawan. You can tell he's got the braid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so she's jumped back down here. She's got her poison. She talks him into taking it.
If I was carrying poison to go do some nefarious stuff, I doubt I would just have it on my chest showing, glowing there.
It's all glowing and stuff. I mean, she probably didn't put it there until she was ready to jump down here, I guess. But plus, I guess she didn't know at what state she'd have to like grab it quickly. Maybe it's not something you want to put in your pocket because of my crush. But to just like
back here and tells him you need to atone, and he takes the stuff.
Yeah, it just didn't take a lot. Like if he was that on the edge.
Well, if once we see the flashbacks and know what happened, I feel like it's possible that the story could be such a way where I go, oh, yeah, I see why it was so bad, and I see why she knew it. He would feel it was so bad.
Yeah, she better and there he is waking up from it. They better pay off why he did this. In
It's
my
feeling
mind,
like you ever seen that movie Courage Under Fire with
I don't think so. Yeah, but like a PTSD kind of thing.
where you're slowly finding out stuff that happens and ends up being really, really bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
better turn into something like that we better go
Yeah.
like, okay, I see why he did it then. But after 10 years of trying to mentally heal, someone goes, hey, there's some poison. You go, oh, okay, that's easier. Like, I understand seeing her was probably a catalyst for it.
This is irrelevant, but it was Denzel Washington. I was trying to remember.
Okay.
Anyway, watch Courage Under Fire. It's a great movie.
But if he's been on the edge of suicide for 10 years, again, I feel like some other master should have been like, hey, let's talk.
Yeah,
you need more than just hovering. You need therapy.
The process too. You meditate and you talk and you meditate on what you talked about. We don't know really enough to.
I know. I'm worried it's not going to pay off.
And most likely they won't ever explain the whole thing fully anyway, because it's not easy to fit into the story they're trying to tell,
I suppose. So yeah, he drinks the poison.
Yeah.
That was pretty, he did it almost without anything. I like that every time Soul feels something, he turns to his left. I don't know if you noticed that, but he's done it twice now. Whenever he was on the ice planet in the first episode and she was experiencing some trauma or something, he turned to the left like this. It's almost like his tell of like, I'm sensing something.
Oh, yeah, I'll look for that. I hadn't noticed
Yeah.
that.
I've seen him do it twice now.
This is my sensing feelings here.
Yeah. It's almost like let me unfocus from everything and just kind of do this,
That's cool.
So she departs, and I'm so glad they didn't do the stupid thing where she doesn't explain it correctly, and they,
Yeah.
This made me like Yord for the first time, really.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he did the right thing where he saw her sneaking away and watched what she was doing.
Yeah. So his paranoia, which was
paid off
over the top, ended up convincing him to trust because he did check it out.
Right.
So now he's kind of on board, and yeah, that works out.
Had he not done that, it would have been that whole scene of, well, you were standing over the body and stuff. And they do this all the time in shows where, yeah, all you have to do is go, no, I just came in and this happened and this happened. I was just behind you when it happened.
Or when you come in and you see a dead body, don't go, oh, put my hands in the blood and grab the knife and
it's the bottle, the poison bottle, DNA. Yeah.
And then
don't touch anything
like this until people show up.
Well, they don't have crime dramas in Star Wars, I guess, but all of us have been trained the minute we see a dead body, like, okay, don't get involved.
But I've seen shows where they do that.
I know. Touch the knife that's stabbed into them and all that stuff. Yeah.
Let me grab it and hold it like this over the body.
Over the body. And then the minute someone walked in, drop it and run. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm glad they didn't. They had 5 seconds of it where the Alega Master his lightsaber. Okay. Yeah, there she is, messing with the body, messing with the evidence. Now, I like that this guy immediately pulls his lightsaber. You see somebody over the dead body, you would do that, sure. And I'm impressed that, like, look at Jekka or Jecki. Is it Jecki? Yeah, Jecki. Look at her. She even said, like, you better explain it. Like, this looks bad.
There's false statements in this show. Like, a Jedi only pulls their lightsaber if they're prepared to kill. And then here we are. You can't kill a Jedi with knives. Just killed her with a knife,
Well, but that was philosophical. You can't kill the Jedi with knives.
I mean, I think they're purposely saying one thing and showing you something different. You can't trust
Oh,
your eyes, and you know,
that's interesting. Almost like here's our philosophy and here's us doing the opposite of the philosophy.
almost like the Jedi have this vision of how things are, and it's not always what it's made out to be.
Right.
You know?
Although I will say I think that guy's prepared to kill her. Look at his face.
Well, sure, but
He's the guardian of this temple, right?
you know.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you just killed someone I was supposed to be guarding. You better explain yourself and surrender now.
Yeah, but I mean, she would, if she said, "Yes, I killed him and I surrender," and then he wouldn't kill her.
No, but I think if she just started running,
fighting and doing stuff, then
yeah, fighting. If she started running, I could easily see him throw the lightsaber, pull her back, whatever it is, like attack.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So luckily we got Yord to back up everything we saw, and we don't have to go through this whole 5-minute drama of her convincing them. That was good. I don't know why they even had to have these scenes beyond that, other than the fact that it did kind of bring Yord.
Yes, the purpose was to bring Yord along. Yeah.
Yeah, so they all talk about, I guess it was, here he is again. I like this guy so much. Throws his trash in this guy's basket. You immediately like to dislike this guy.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that he took over the apothecary shop. And when May shows up for the first time, she doesn't seem to have known he was there beforehand, because she's like, what are you wearing and all that stuff. It's almost like this guy knows poisons and stuff. So anywhere she goes, she knows to go find them at whatever the local apothecary.
They created a safe house for her to come back to.
Right. But
I still think there's something more to him that we don't know, and he's watching her. It's more than just I'm a dude that's here to support you.
I don't know. I think he's a handler, and I think he reports definitely on her. But to what degree? Because, But yeah, he's an interesting character. I like him.
So then they go in there.
Well, before that, this is where Yord says, oh, let's just go in there and like rough him up. And Jackie's like, I've got a better idea. Why don't we send her in?
Yeah.
I like that more subtle approach. Oh, this is, I wanted to get that picture again real quick. There it is. Yeah, I like, by the way, that they have this armor underneath. We've never seen that before, really, other than the Clone Wars, where they have white armor, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if it covers his whole arm, doesn't it? It's like a gauntlet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like a bracer or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how far. These are cool creatures. She just buys this nice shawl from this guy. I guess that's a mask. It's a weird mask.
Yeah.
Everybody wears weird masks everywhere in Star Wars. So she does a really poor job of pretending to be May in this.
Yeah.
She's like,
I think he's just trying to delay long enough to have him say some stuff to hear what he says. But, so right here, already he comes out and he's not saying a lot of incriminating stuff for a long time. And then we find out he recognizes her. And it might have taken him some time. Maybe he didn't instantly recognize her, but he was already cautious. It just impressed me. It seemed like the kind of person they were saying he was in the last scene. This is more astute than that.
He gives 3 things away, right? So the first thing he says is, are you okay? No, the first thing he says is, are you okay, May? And when he says May, you see her react like, so May is alive, and May, like, they get that real information.
Right.
And then he said, did you use the poison or something like that, that's what they need.
Poison from him, and he's
right. Yeah. And then the third thing is something about, he'll be so pleased or something, a master. Right?
The main thing. They want to know who he is.
The annoying thing is that whenever they come rushing in, and they start questioning him. This guy is so good at deflecting everything that they forget to ask the stupid question. They ask the question about the master, he deflects it, and they don't continue it.
Yeah. See, this is what makes me think there's something more to him than we're aware of right now. That he's going to
He's better than he appears. Yeah,
he's a big deal in this story, I think.
He's definitely better than he appears, because here's what happens is that Soul says, "Who is he?" And the first thing he does, see, he has a yellow lightsaber. The first thing he does is, "Didn't he come with you?" Like throws off pointing to Yord, like, right here. He's like, "Isn't this guy with him?" Like that kind of thing. He's playing the idiot kind of thing.
Very manipulative.
Yeah, and then he says, "Does Osha?" Soul asks him, "Does Osha have a master?" And instead of answering that,
but you mean, does May have a master?
Yeah. Sorry, does May have a master? Instead of answering that, he says May will come back here later to pick up stuff. And they go, "Oh, let's get the blah blah blah."
Yeah, he totally
doesn't get the answer. He serves up May instead of the master, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty fascinating.
I noticed all these things about him in the middle of all these Jedi, and I was like, what if he's the matched guy?
That'd be interesting.
That's why the guy wears the helmet.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I wouldn't be upset if that was the case. But I like this character so much in a way that I kind of want him to be his own thing too.
Yeah, I could see that. Then you get two cool characters, because we assume the guy in the mask is going to be cool.
Right. But the way he deflected. Now, I assume the Jedi thought, okay, we'll act real quick to make sure that we get in place to get May, and then afterwards we'll question him and her about this. Like, that's probably what they were thinking, not realizing they were going to lose everybody. And that's some more hubris from the Jedi. But yeah, so he offers up May. They get the plan. Yord gets into place. I liked Yord's interactions here too. Like during this whole thing. This is where he reveals, like, okay, I could tell how angry you were in that moment. I didn't realize you had so much anger, so I'm taking you out of the situation. And this is where I was saying, like, maybe the revenge could be her side, not May's side, because she is. You can see the anger in there,
Right. What I don't understand necessarily. Oh, we're not supposed to understand yet. What is May so upset about? We know why Osha's upset at May.
Oh, well, yeah. Whenever he mentions Osha, she says that Osha's dead. She thought that Osha had been killed.
Yeah, but if she thought Osha had been killed in her fire that she set, maybe she set a fire because it happened in the middle of a fight with a Jedi or something.
Yeah, maybe. So this fight was really fun to see. Again, she's completely outmatched. He doesn't even pull his weapon. He's just moving like this pretty easily to avoid all her stuff. And again, at a point, he gets her in several times where he could just easily kill her. He even has her hovering above the ground at one point, just totally helpless. He could have just taken out his lightsaber. That's it. No more show.
Well, the point is that she would be helpless.
Right. So you can't do that. Now, and Yord's sitting there watching the whole time, just letting things happen because he can see, okay, I'm not needed here. He's got this kind of thing, right? But I do like the part where basically she's about to throw that's where she gets stuck. And she calls him, "Get out of my head, Jedi." Like, you can hear like the anger behind that. That's pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, where she starts, like, she slips another knife into her hand and he pulls it back. And when she goes to throw it, that was a cool move by Yord. Got to give that to him.
Yeah. Pulls a Jack Burton.
Uh, old Jack Burton always says. Um, yeah, this is where she gets mad about uh, them saying that OSHA's still alive. She goes running. Yord is the one that gives her the idea. He pushes her back, and she gets all this dust in her eyes.
Oh,
Like if you see, yeah, if you see her run right here, and all this dust comes up, and it's in her eyes and stuff, right? That's where she gets the idea to.
Oh, that's interesting.
She's looking at it on the ground and understands, oh, I can do this push. Now, when she does the push, she yells like in, I think that's a dark side push. If you like, there's some anger behind it.
There still also could be some influences from some other force using culture too.
Sure. But I think, when she does this, you hear her yell. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. And then what? Now
this I didn't expect.
What?
For them to see each other this soon, right? And May's, you can kind of see the tattoo thing behind her hair, but
and then what's cool about this scene too is this is the first use of stun on live action since episode 4.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
it must be a
New Hope, the original Star Wars movie.
Right.
Now,
so
they
this
have shown it in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
The stun setting, but
so this is interesting because basically May has thought that the Jedi killed Osha, her sister, and has been training.
The Jedi set the fire.
Right. Yeah. But Osha thinks that May killed her own family and herself with this fire, and blames May for it.
Mm-hmm.
So which one's correct, if either one? And did the Jedi guide her to believing that?
It could be a thing like if you were robbing a bank and the police show up and y'all get into a big hubbub and a fire gets started in the bank and the bank burns down and kills everybody, they're not going to say the police started the fire. They're going to say the bank robbers started the fire, even if no matter what actually started the fire physically,
right.
The bank robbers are responsible because they started this whole big mess, right?
Right, but in this case,
the bank think of it that way.
In this case, a bank robber's 8 years old.
Oh.
Or 10 years old.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if she misunderstood and thought the Jedi were the bad guys coming to hurt the person that was messing with her, and then she goes, to try to hurt, I don't know.
I mean, if they were both force sensitive, maybe her force abilities had something to do with fire.
Or push a candle into a grate. Who knows?
Could be. But, maybe it goes back to, you remember in the first episode, whenever Master Soul is talking to the children and he's saying, imagine the force. It could be like an ocean. And one of the girls says, I see fire. And you say,
I'm sure.
Looks at her like, ooh.
In there because it's going to refer later. But we'll just have to wait and see. It'll be interesting and I'll bet we get some major flashback scenes showing what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually.
So she fires, but do we think she missed on purpose?
No, I think she was trying to hit her.
Look at that face. I think she was
There's nobody around to fool.
Right, but you can always say she subconsciously missed because she doesn't really want to hit.
Consciously, but
I don't think so because that's a stun weapon. Either you want to pay her back for doing what she did with this angry face, so you want to hit her, or you want to capture her to be able to correct what's going on.
I think she was trying to shoot at her. It's just what we think. She shot at her and missed, and she's not really trained in blasters. She was trained as a Jedi, and then she's a mechanic. So.
That's the you missed face.
Yeah.
So, talking to Vernesta again. They're gonna he runs into her. So they both get away. He runs into her. They look like they're going to kill each other for a second. Well,
here's another thing too. How does a fixer or whatever get a force trained user like that?
Yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
So there is some kind of class that he fits into that is, maybe he's not a force user, but he's like really good at what he does. Like he's almost like the bounty hunter level of Sith. You know what I mean? Like
something like that, but he could also be a force user that specializes in not letting people know you're a force user.
Sure.
Yeah. Very subtle stuff going on there.
Yeah. So yeah, he's very interesting. I like that character. These things were fun. So then we jump to this little planet.
So this is the kind of planet that a Wookiee would think is beautiful because it looks similar to Kashyyyk.
Yeah. These two, they have them called scavengers. The tall one, his real name is Scroobius Pip.
Yeah.
Which is already a Star Wars.
As far as I'm concerned, that should be that character's Star Wars name because that's a Star Wars.
Scroobius Pip. Now, he might be famous in something else. Maybe he's like, in the music or something. That's why he's got that name or whatever. The other one, Jermaine Hunter, I don't know either.
But they Scroobius Pip.
Scroobius, Scroobius, and then PIP. So,
well, you're not going to mistakenly get something different when you Google that name.
Yeah. But, they both have a presence on
IMDb. Some other kinds of videos and things.
Okay, yeah. But, he's
a poet and a hip-hop recording artist.
Okay, so that makes sense.
But Scroobius Pip is a Star Wars name. They should have just made that character Scroobius Pip. Or Poopius Script.
So is that Shriwook? That sign?
Oh.
Because they were like, what does that say? I don't know.
Maybe it's written
I don't think we've ever seen that written before.
That'd be neat.
But they find a ship that's underneath a tree.
Yeah, it looks like it crashed a long time ago and there's been some overgrowth.
Some overgrowth. That's a huge tree. Like that's an ancient ship that's been put under there.
I don't know. Depends on how fast all this stuff grows. Could be 10 years.
Well, I mean, even if it's metal, look at how weathered and eroded away it is.
Yeah.
So he must have just found this ship and made it his home.
Yeah, I don't know.
Got the power going up and stuff. So that was interesting. So yeah, so then we get the Wookiee, the Bigfoot back there. This guy is scary. Like if you're a Jedi, right? You're supposed to be
the Wookiee?
Yeah, you're supposed to be, peaceful and all this stuff. He does not appear to be peaceful. This is going to be a interesting next episode.
Yeah, and it's cool. He pulls the weapon out of her hand, breaks it.
Yeah.
We've seen one other Wookiee Jedi, which was the Padawan in the Clone Wars. Not even Padawan, youngling in the Clone Wars, and then we see that same I can't remember that one's name.
It starts with a G. Grungy.
Grungy?
Grungy is the Padawan. Yeah. Or you're looking for the Wookiee that's in the
Clone Wars.
Oh, in the Clone Wars. Yeah, but he wasn't a Jedi.
Gungi.
Yeah.
Ungi. He was a Padawan.
Yeah. I didn't notice this, but he shaved the top of his head?
No, I think that's different color hair or something.
No, I think that's a shaved head with a top knot.
Try to find another angle. That seems unlikely.
You don't think they would shave his head?
Maybe. It's just kind of weird. I thought maybe it was combed down flat or something.
I don't know. Yeah, look at that. That's a shaved head.
Kalnaka?
Yeah. Played by Junis Suotamo, the same guy that played Chewbacca in the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So big guy.
It may not be totally shaved, but it's like a buzz cut.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I found a photo that shows it up close, and it's like there's a little bit of hair, but it's shaved very short.
Well, yeah, maybe he just hadn't shaved that day like me.
But yeah, that's a cool look.
Yeah. It was a great way to end the episode. It makes you...
You got to have a way to make it not look like Chewbacca, you know?
Oh, sure. He does look different in the face, yeah.
Sorry?
He does look different in the face, so...
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
I liked the episode. You know, I think this show's going to get better and better as you get more involved in the story.
I'm definitely interested in... I wouldn't say I'm interested in the story. I almost feel like they've kind of just told you the story. I think last episode I kind of called this the Kill Bill Star Wars series, where May is going around killing all the baddies that messed her up at one point. Like it doesn't feel like an overcomplicated story.
You know,
I'll be interested to see what happens and stuff. I care more about... I think the characters are more interesting, or maybe the Jedi stuff is more interesting.
What I really would love is a show that's in this era, but like is more episodic, where like every episode is a different little case that they have to go on, and you get to see a wider range of things going on in that world. You know?
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I would watch a Soul and Jecki show where they go around doing different stuff.
Yeah. That seems much more broad than just one storyline, is it?
Yeah. But anyway, that's our take on episode 2. Any predictions for the next episode? They're going to run into we're going to see an awesome Wookiee battle between him and May, I guess.
They're going to, because we know May's got a short list, right? There was one other one that they mentioned that we didn't see, because there's 4 of them. 2 of them are dead. One is Kelnaka. And then one was another name that I can't remember that they mentioned, but we don't know who that is.
I think it's Soul. Isn't it Soul?
No, it was a different name.
She said, I have 4 Jedi to kill.
Unless it's Soul's last name.
But
it's not. I don't think
they didn't say the name. They said, I have 4 Jedi to kill.
They gave a name. They listed all 4.
Really?
They said this name, this name, this name, this, and then
Quimmer.
Kelnaka was the last one, and it was the 3rd one they mentioned.
Pandora, Quimmer, Kelnaka, and I think Soul is the other one.
Yeah, it was some name I wasn't familiar with. It was
even
with several.
Not Quimmer, sorry, Torben. Quimmer even says you have 3 Jedi, and she said I have 4. But she doesn't say who the 4th one is. And I think
they list all 4 names, and the one name that we didn't know had several syllables to it. It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't the words.
I'll have to go back and look at that, or tell us in the comments if you know.
Yeah, tell us. But anyway, so they're either going to go to that or they're going to go to Kelnaka.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the Wookiee at the end was the teaser that we're going to see a Wookiee fight. Talk about picking the worst Jedi to try to kill without a weapon now. A Wookiee?
Yeah.
I mean, she tried it against Soul and wasn't working, so she pulled out knives and that didn't work.
I can imagine that a Wookiee would also have lots of predictable patterns that maybe you could take advantage of.
I don't see the Wookiee resisting just tearing her apart if she attacks.
No, she's going to have to do something tricky, something very tricky. But I don't know. It's very unpredictable right now. The big prediction I can make is that there's going to come a point where we're going to get the story and it's going to go back in time and show us what happened. And maybe that'll be a whole episode or several episodes. Maybe the second half of the season will be back in time. Who knows? Yeah. But I think it'll be more than just one scene. And I don't think they're going to kill Kelnaka off, though.
I hope not. But who knows? I mean, they killed off Carrie-Anne Moss. So.
Yeah.
And Dara was a cool character right from the beginning. And then
we'll see.
So.
Yeah. Excited to see more.
Yeah. All right. So we'll post our third episode a day or so after when it airs. So be on the lookout for that. Hit the bell, and YouTube will let you know whenever we pop up. Subscribe, like, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks a lot.